Hello. Okay, I think that'll work. Good morning, everyone. Sorry that everything was taking a little bit longer to get started this morning. I've been spending all week at NGConf, and this morning I was a little afraid I was going to have an NG coma. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Last week I was talking that this week we'd get started with the app for uh, helping to check out things that have been borrowed. And I still want to do that, but um, after helping people with the Tour of Heroes at NGConf, I wanted to take some time to do the Tour of Heroes here um, for this webcast as well, because this is such a good exercise and will help get you familiar with a lot of the features of Angular. Um, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now this quick start, you can go to angular.io and then get started. So they have the quick start, which is just the 5-minute, but what we want to do is the tutorial, because that's the tour of heroes here. So we're going to do this. We're going to create an app that has a dashboard and heroes, some top heroes, and you can do some data input here. It lists the heroes and hooks up all these routes. So we're going to see how much of this we can get done within an hour. Now we're going to do this a little bit differently than what this guide tells you to do. I believe it has you either git clone or download a starter. But what we want to do is use the Angular CLI. So we're going to make sure, if you've been following the last couple of weeks, hopefully you've already installed Node.js. Best version for this, as of right now, is any version of Node 7. Technically, some versions of Node 6 are supposed to be supported, but I've seen some weird issues, so you can just be safe with Node 7. And then install the Angular CLI. So let's see here. I don't want to do that right now. Let's do open folder. Let's hold off on that actually. I'm just going to go straight to the command prompt. So if you haven't installed the Angular CLI already, but you have Node installed, you can say npm-v and see. Eventually, apparently it's going to take a bit here. 420 is what I have. And npm i-g at angular/CLI. Now I think I've already got that, so I'm going to cancel that. That will create the ng command that you can call. So ng-v, and there you go. So it shows for me, I've got Angular CLI version 1, Node version 773, and my operating system is Win32x64. Okay, so we're ready to get started. So go to whatever folder you're going to be creating this out of. I like to, code, sandbox. Okay, and we're going to do ng new, and I'm just going to call this TOH for Tour of Heroes. All right, so it's initialized Git, it's installing the packages via npm. This is going to take a couple of minutes. So while we're waiting for that, let's just go ahead and look at the Tour of Heroes. Maybe I can get that so we can, never mind. All right, okay, we kind of went high level what we're going to be doing here. So next step, the hero editor. Okay, build a simple hero editor. So we don't have to worry about the setup. We'll already have this set up for us with the Angular CLI. You're done with this, should look at like this. Ah, interesting. So they're going to have some stuff already kind of mocked out for you. We'll have to add this ourselves because what we'll see is when this finishes, oh man, my command prompt is not very happy with me right now. Anyway, let's go and open this up. Sandbox, Tour of Heroes. And anyone who's just joining, this editor I'm using is called Visual Studio Code, which is a completely free editor and is by far my favorite tool for writing Angular apps. Okay, so let's just open up our command line here. Looks like all of our node modules, oh, we've got a .staging folder. Yeah, it's in .staging, which means it's not fully installed yet. So we're gonna have to wait a second before we can actually start using that. Is there a reason why this keeps on crashing or refreshing? I don't know. All right, flipping back to here. So let's take a look at what they have already in the app component. So they have a template and they have a couple of things in this app component here. Let's see what it says here. Setup instructions, clone, download, delete non-essential, quick start seed. Okay. Hello. Oh, that's interesting. So it shows the app component having just name Angular in there. But here, we've got a template. Okay, it looks like we'll just be able to start from here. All right. Okay, and looks like the node modules is completed, so we can go ahead and start. So ng serve will serve up our app. And all you have to do is go to localhost 4200. It actually pops it up here for me. And it will just sit here. Webpack will work on building the bundles, and every time we make a change, it'll automatically update those bundles and refresh the page. How awesome is that? So I'm going to go ahead and close this panel right now. That actually doesn't stop the process. It's still there, but it hides it, which is kind of nice. And we have a app works, and that's great, except for we want to make things a lot more fun here. So instead of npm start, we used ngserve. Let's go ahead and go to our app component and take a look at what we are going to be working with here. Now let's dock this over here. And so source app component dot ts. All right, I'm going to close this. Okay, so this is what we have. We have export class app component with a title AppWorks. So our title, we want to say Tour of Heroes. Do that, Tour of Heroes. And we want to add another property to this class. Hero equals windstorm. Now, right now that shouldn't mean anything to us, but it will. It will as we get going here. So let's look at the template for this. Now, this says template, and then it has an inline template. We're actually going to use a template URL here to appcomponent.html. Just separates it into a separate file, and you get some really good tooling on the HTML when it's not embedded in a string like they have it in this example here. So let's go ahead and do this. Now, this gives me an opportunity to show you something really awesome about Visual Studio Code. When you're creating HTML, you can just type the tag name and then hit tab, and there you go. That's called an EMMA abbreviation, and it'll just allow you to do whatever you want very quickly without having to worry about typing start and end tags and all that. So we're going to do hero details. Now, this curly brace syntax here, what it's doing is Angular, whenever it sees the double curly brace, is going to take whatever's inside of there and go look at here and try to find a match for it in your app component. And so here we have hero, and the hero here is set to windstorm. So it will take the value windstorm and put it into here. And that's cool enough, but you might think, why don't I just type windstorm here? The cool thing is, whenever you change this variable back here, Angular will automatically update this right here with the latest value. This is one of the most powerful things about the Angular templating engine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. We've got our H1 title and our hero details. The white space doesn't matter because HTML doesn't care. All right, so as we save this, we've got Tour of Heroes, Windstorm details. Hooray! So far, so good. Okay, so now we're going to create a hero object. So in order to represent our hero, we're going to create a class. Export class hero. And this is just going to be a class that represents the data that we're going to be binding to with hero. So each hero is going to have an ID, and we're going to say that that is going to be a number. So that way, if we ever try to give it a different value, we'll get a warning. Name is going to be a string, and that's all we have to do. So now every hero, you'll always know that it has an ID and a name. So up here we have hero, and you'll hover over it and you see that it says appcomponent.hero is a string. TypeScript automatically chooses what types variables are based on what you're assigning them. But that means a couple of things. Number one, you don't always have to type the type of a object, but also if you want to be a little more specific, you can tell it explicitly what type you want it to be. In this case, we're going to change this hero from being type string, and we're going to make colon, and it's actually going to be a hero now. Now we're going to get a nice little error that says type string windstorm is not assignable to type hero. Okay, it's time for us to take that out. So we've got hero is equal to, and we're going to need an ID, which is going to be 1, and a name, which is going to be windstorm. Cool. So now it's happy with us. We've created a hero object that has those things in there. Now, so far, this doesn't seem to be really anything special here. And in fact, we could probably just make this an interface and everything would still work. Because we're declaring some properties here, but we don't have any like functions or anything you can call in it yet. But we'll just leave that as class for now because that's what they have in the tutorial here. So let's see what's next. So we've updated our component, but our template is still using the hero string. And so you see here we've got object details. That's not exactly what we want. We want to put the name of the hero. So all we have to do is now say hero.name. That will go to the name property on the hero and display windstorm. So let's go over to our component and make that change. Hero.name. And ta-da! We got it. All right, let's keep on going. Adding HTML with multi-line template strings. So this is kind of cool. And one of my favorite features of TypeScript is these template strings that allow you to, when you use a tick instead of a quote mark, like let's just do it with the title here. So that is still a string, but now you can put as much space in there as you want and it doesn't complain. And we'll save that. And now you see that it doesn't keep that space in there because this is going to be HTML, and HTML doesn't care about line breaks and things like that. Now, just a little experimentation here. If we put the HTML BR tag, we save that. Oh, Angular is not going to like that either. That's because it's a security thing. They don't want you to accidentally bind data to your page that contains malicious or potentially malicious HTML. If we want to keep all of those spaces there, we could change this to pre and stick the title in there. Pre just means pre-formatted text, so it will keep all the spaces that exist in there. Actually, we'll probably want to just tidy that up, and now you'll see we've got Tour of Heroes with all of our spaces there. So that's just a little introduction to the multi-line strings. We're not using that for our templates here because we're using a separate file, which is a much better way to go. But now you know that that is an option in TypeScript. This is actually an ECMAScript 2015 feature of JavaScript. So pretty awesome stuff. And we'll go ahead and nix the pre there. Unless you like Courier, I guess. Kind of looks a little retro, typewriter style there. Okay, now we're back to normal. All right. Edit the hero name. So we want not only to have the hero details displayed, but make it possible for people to change those hero details. And so we're going to create an input box that makes it so that we can type a new name for this hero. Now, this is kind of some funky syntax here, and bear with me, I'll explain what this means in just a minute. But let's go ahead and we'll do this. div, and we're going to put label. We'll skip the for property right now, and we'll just say name, and whoop, there we go. All right, and then an input, type is text, and we're going to say placeholder is going to be name, and we're going to say, this is going to start wrapping around here, so I'll just do that. Okay, so this is really funky. We do square bracket, then parenthesis, ng model. Whoa, I must have caps lock on. Ng model equals hero.name. So we've got the double curly braces for hero.name up here. That will just bind that value there. Now this is going to bind that value to the input and bind whatever text is entered to the input back into this property. And I'll explain kind of why the syntax in a little bit when we have some other examples that I can show you. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll down here. And here we go. If we make changes to this, we'll see it works. Isn't that great? It automatically updates. Windstorm. Cool. Now, this appears to not be true, either that or it's automatically included the forms module. Let's see. Oh, yep. So it's saying that ng model is a valid Angular directive, but it isn't available by default. But by using the CLI by default, we've imported that forms module, which has ng model, so we don't have to worry about that error. Yay! Okay, so moving on. So we don't have to worry about that part. Road you traveled. Okay, that's great. Complete as it stands now. Road ahead. Okay, master detail. Let's do this. Okay. And we still have that running. Okay, displaying heroes. So we've made a hero type, and now let's make just a bunch of sample heroes. We can just go ahead and copy this because this is basically we're just making a constant called heroes that is of type hero array. This literal array syntax here is how we're initializing it. We're creating some objects that have an ID and a name, so they match the hero, the properties that are on the hero class there. And we have a comma between each one, and we just create all those in succession there. So we're just going to go ahead and stick that down here, because we will be doing something different in a little bit with it. But for now, these are just kind of our hard-coded heroes that we have available to us. Okay, expose the heroes. And in our component here, we're going to make a heroes property. And we're going to set that equal to heroes. Now, what type is heroes? It's a hero array. It just takes the type off of here and sticks it onto there. So that's kind of nice. Okay, display hero names in a template. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make an unordered list in HTML with a list item for each hero. So let's flip back over here. This is still an app component.ts heroes template. Okay, so we'll just say ul and okay, h2, and then after that we're going to have my heroes. Okay, now we're going to have a ul of class heroes, and then under that we'll have a list item, and look at that, boom. And then this here's just a comment. We're not going to put that in. I mean, I guess you can if you want to, but it won't make any difference on this side. So now we've got my heroes, we've got a list item that just has an empty bullet. So how do we get this list of heroes here, this array of heroes, into this list? We want to have one list item for each hero in the list. This is where ng4 comes in. ng4 is one of the Angular directives that allows you to repeat an element for every time it occurs in a list. So we're going to go ahead and put star ng4, 4 equals, and say let hero of heroes. Now let is a JavaScript keyword that basically allows you to create a new variable. And the Angular team was nice enough to make that consistent in the Angular templating. So you can think of this as we're going to create a new variable that just exists inside of here that's called hero. And what that will be assigned to is one of the values from this array heroes. So for each list item that this creates, hero will be set to a different value from within this heroes array. This makes it really cool because now we can just say hero.name and it will work because hero exists within here. And we have .name on a hero. Now this is interesting because we've got a hero variable out here, and then we've got a hero variable inside here. Since this is defined here, everything inside here when you say hero will be referring to this one and not to this one. So let's go ahead and just see what that does. See, we've got our heroes here, all of them listed out. Isn't that cool? So we still have this, but we also have a list of heroes. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So they want to do span class badge. Okay, that's fine. Span dot badge. There we go. And we'll put hero.id in there. And then a space after it, and then hero.name. Okay, let's see how that works. All right, now we just have some numbers here. This badge class isn't doing anything for us yet. So what they want to do is we'll create some styles for these heroes. Now again, you'll see in this tutorial it's showing doing the styles in an inline array inside the app component.ts file. But here we have style URLs that reference a separate file, which again is going to be better for us because we get much better feedback when we're editing a CSS file rather than editing a string in a JavaScript file or TypeScript file. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this code, paste it in here. Now, since they're doing it with this in the TS file, we're gonna have to delete some of that string stuff from the beginning and the end. But now we have a nice little CSS file. And I'll just unindent that. Whoa. Alt-Shift-F. Oh gosh, I've ruined it. Okay, so let's just walk through here and, well, maybe we'll talk about it as we see these styles being used here. So I don't know how many of you have worked with CSS before, but this is basically what determines some of the sizes, margins, layouts, colors, fonts for our application here. We'll go ahead and save this and see how that changes things. Oh no, I didn't like that. Everything is broken. Oh, now we're good. Look at that. So, you remember how it was just kind of a normal HTML list? Now, let's take a look here. Every hero's list item has a cursor that's a pointer. Oh, great. Okay, it's got a background color of that, EEE, which is just a little bit darker than FFF, which is white. Okay, when you hover over a hero's list item, then, and it's selected, you have that. Now, I don't think we're using that one quite yet, but we are using this one. This hover here changes the color, and color meaning the text color here. Background color changes to DDD, which is a little bit darker than EEE. All right, and the hero's text, position relative, okay. And here's the badge. Remember how we did the span class badge? And so they have a different style for that that makes this background color and the color of white and a bunch of other stuff. So now we've got some kind of nice formatting for this stuff. I would suggest, just as a personal preference, to create another style in here, because I'm not a big fan of serif fonts. I really like sans serif. That meaning, like this is, I don't know, Times New Roman or whatever this is, where you've got like the little top and bottom marks on all the letters. Let's go ahead and get rid of those. I'm going to say dot or colon host, and we'll say font, oops, family. Let's go with Arial. Narrow. Yeah, sure. That should be good. Let's see. That's a font I like better. So this host pseudo class just means this entire app component, the element that's hosting that will have this style, and everything that's below it will have it. So that's kind of a nice little Angular trick there. Okay, let's move on here. And I think we already have that. Let's just go and double check that. So we've got a Yule class heroes, we've got let hero of heroes, we've got the span class badge. Yeah, so there we go. Okay, so now we're going to select a hero. And so we need to be able to, whenever we click on a hero, have something happen. Right now, nothing happens. It looks nice, but it doesn't do anything. So we're going to add a click event. Now, in Angular, when you do a parentheses for the click event, we want to call a function called onSelect back in our component. So let's go ahead, and that's going to be on the list item here. We'll say parenthesis click end parenthesis equals onSelect hero. Okay, and I've got some great extensions on my VS Code. I have the Angular language service, which gives me some template help here. And it's saying, wait a minute, you don't have a method called onSelect. Okay, and it's right, we don't have that in our template yet, or in our component. So let's switch back over there. And we're going to create this. So far we've just created variables in our class. We're now going to create a function, and it's going to be called onSelect. And we're going to pass a hero in, and that's going to be of type hero. And for now, we can just leave that empty and go back here, and it should say, yeah, it's happy now. Cool. All right, so let's see. So this click, this isn't anything in previous versions. If anyone's done anything with Angular version 1, AngularJS, you used to have to do an ng click in order to bind to a click event. And that was a special directive that Angular had created for all that. But the long story short is with the newer Angular, version 2 and above, you don't have to have a special directive just for binding to DOM events. There's several different DOM events that exist for a list item. And you can see all of these. If you were to write it just normal JavaScript, it would just be like on change equals, and then you type some JavaScript, alert, hi, or something like that. What Angular does is for every event, it makes it so that you can take off the on and surround it by parentheses and then bind it directly to your Angular component, which is cool. So you have all of those things available to you. So the parentheses are going to be the events, and the square brackets are going to be the properties. So all the DOM properties you can bind to. We'll get into those a little bit more later, but you can see that, so like we've got outer HTML, outer text, inner, and all that stuff. Take a look at this ng model again. So we've got the parentheses, which are used for an event, like clicking. We've got the square brackets, which are used for binding data from the component to this template here. So really what this square bracket parenthesis is saying is we're going to have two-way data binding. When there's a value in the component, we're going to put it here. And when the value here changes, we're going to put it back into the component. So this is a two-way data binding, whereas this is a one-way, saying template going to the model there, the component, and things like, enabled, or let's see, we'll just say ID, right? We could bind hero dot ID, right? So this would be if things change in the model or the component, then they'll reflect in the HTML, but it won't go the other way. If things change on the HTML side, it won't bind the value back. This makes it much more performant. Okay, so we'll remove that for now. All right, let's see, parentheses, yep. Okay, so right now, we don't have anything happening when you actually do onSelect other than calling this empty function here. So what we want to do is make it so that we can select a hero. So let's just change this hero property here to be selected hero. And for now, we'll just in this here, I'll go ahead and delete Windstorm. Maybe we can put him back here later in that list. And if we save this, we will now get, wait a minute, our list of heroes is gone. What happened? Why is this not working? Why is it broken? Oh no, my app is on fire. Let's refresh that and see what's going on. Oh, big, huge, ugly error. Unable to get property name of undefined or null reference. So what's happening here is in our template, we're saying hero.name. Well, hero doesn't exist. I just changed it to selected hero. Let's change that. Selected hero. Whoa, hold on. Hero, okay. And we'll change it here as well. Okay, cool. Will that fix it? No, it will not. And that's because even though selected hero exists, it's not being set to a value. Now there's a couple of ways we could fix this. We could initialize it with some value like Windstorm. And that would fix it. ID is 1, name equals Windstorm, and save that, and everything would be happy. But we don't want to do that because he's not actually in the list. And that could get kind of confusing. So we're just going to keep this like this, but we're just going to skip showing the selected hero details if there's no selected hero. So going back to our template here, everything that has to do with the selected hero is, let's just put it within a div here, just so it's easy to group this together. Okay. So we've got this outer div that has everything to do with selected hero inside of it. We're going to make it so that if selected hero doesn't exist, we're not even going to show this. So we're going to do star ngIf equals selected hero. All right, let's see if that works, and then I'll explain a little bit as to what that means. So it does work. We've got our list here, and it displays nicely. Now, since there's no selected hero, we don't get the text box. This is another Angular directive. So we used ng4, and now we're using ngIf. This says whatever you put in here, if that evaluates to a truthy value, which in JavaScript just means anything other than like null or empty string or 0 or undefined, if it doesn't evaluate to any of those things, then this will pass and everything that is within it will be rendered. So since selected hero doesn't exist, none of this gets rendered. But as soon as this value changes to something that it is truthy, all of this will appear. So let's go ahead and do that now. In this click event, we never did anything, but let's say, because we're going to be passing in the hero that got clicked, this dot selected hero equals hero. All right, now let's see what happens. So our click event, look at that, Mr. Nice is now selected. We can change his name if we want to Mr. Whoops. Wow, okay. Mr. Nice Guy. And you'll see it changes it up here, and here, and there. Isn't that awesome? And then we can go and change any of these other ones. So that's great. We've gotten really far here. Let's keep on going. All right. And we fixed that. We could hit the ngIf. Okay, we got the asterisk there. So all the Angular directives that are built in have an asterisk at the beginning. So just remember to do that. Okay, style the selected hero. And aha. So we want to make it now so that when a hero is selected, like Mr. Nice Guy, see, he just looks the same in the list as all the others, but we want to make it special so that we can immediately recognize that he is the selected hero. So let's go ahead and, and change that. So we're going to say every list item that is in this list, if it's selected, then we're going to change the style on it. So the way we do that is, since a list item in HTML has a class property, see that? That means we can actually bind to it in Angular. If we put square brackets around it, we can do class dot selected, and this will say if this expression here that binds to your component ends up being truthy, it will apply the selected class to this element here. Okay, so we'll say selected hero equals hero. So basically, if this hero inside of this template here, or inside of the loop, is equal to the selected hero, and in JavaScript we use triple equals so that we can not only compare the type of the value of the object, but also the type of the object. It makes it a little more performant. We're going to apply the selected class. Now, you'll remember when we went back to the component earlier, we had a .selected class that would change the background to a different color. So let's see if this works now. And doesn't seem to be working. Why is it not working? Okay, let's take a look. Let's inspect the element. And here we have our list item, but we don't have that class on it. So why is that? Let's see here. See if it gives any class dot selected hero equals selected hero. It shouldn't matter which comes first, but let's try it the way that they have it here. Selected hero. Okay. So I think that it may just not have refreshed. You'll see that now that Mr. Nice is selected, or rubber band or whatever, he's got a special style about him that changes. So that's pretty awesome. Let's see what's next. Okay. This seems like a review here. Okay. All right, we're at 8:55. I'm going to go ahead and continue on. You can drop off if you'd like, or come back later. Let's see how much more there is in this guide here. And oh, you know what? We're like halfway through here, almost. Okay, maybe we'll actually leave off here and pick this up next week. And in the meantime, feel free to go ahead and plow ahead and see if you're able to get everything done. We've kind of moved past a lot of the things that will be different between what's in the Tour of Heroes guide as well as what's in the Angular CLI. So hopefully at this point you should be able to understand where things go and remember ng-serve instead of npm start for serving up your code. Now, npm start might actually work as well. Let's see here. If we go to our package.json, we have a script called start that does ng-serve. So I guess you can't go wrong. npm start or ng-serve will do the exact same thing. All right, well, thank you for joining me. Hope to see you again next week. as we continue our tour of heroes. And thank you. Hope that if you enjoy this, that you'll like, follow, and that I'll show you just with the last couple of minutes here. Go take a look at the YouTube ngconf. Whoops, not that. Gconf videos. There we go. So if you just search for ngconf, you'll find this channel here. And I was able to go to ngconf this year and speak, which was way awesome. I'm hoping I'll get to do that again in the future. But my talk was with my 5-year-old daughter, Gwen, and we talked about teaching Angular and other programming to kids. Let's see if we can find that one. I'm just going to do a search through the videos. And ng-steam was the video here. Give it a shot. Give it a view. It's only 5 minutes and 47 seconds long, so it shouldn't take you too long. But this is really awesome. This is all about helping kids to get excited about programming. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. My name's Joe Skeen, and hope to see you next week. Hope you'll code along with me. Thank you.